It's time for Under 30. We're talking PagerDuty with George Tsilis. George, welcome. Not a name that's necessarily on everyone's radar. Tell us a little bit about what the company does, who they are, and why we should be keeping a close eye on them.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about PagerDuty, you got to think about efficiencies from an IT operational standpoint. It's sort of an incident management, threat analysis-based business from a software standpoint that helps reduce the operational inefficiencies associated with needing individuals to run and manage and, of course, monitor IT systems for enterprise-based businesses. So it's really an interesting technology. They use a lot of machine learning and artificial intelligence, but if you consider what's going on with the business itself, I mean, it's down from about $58 going back to the 3-year highs, and even this year, as you can see, it's also trading to the downside. So it is a company that enhances productivity, reduces, again, time to scale IT operations, and, of course, incident reporting. Gives executives and, of course, IT managers an idea of what's happening with the internal workings from the standpoint of computing of their businesses. Now, if you look at the report, all was actually pretty good from the trailing basis. They did report about 20 cents a share compared to the 10-cent estimate. If you look at sales, they actually increased by 19% to 107 million, beating the estimates as well by about 3 million. One of the things the company denoted was that if you look at the dollar-based net revenue retention rate, and this gives you an idea that that as long as it's over 100%, it gives you an idea that the folks who are using this technology are actually paying a little bit more for additional services. Well, that increased about 114%, but it was down about 10% from 124% for the same quarter last year. And also guidance for the quarter they reported, sales were higher by 19%, but guidance for the next quarter was between 13 and 14% growth. So I can see why the stock price is to the downside today. It has been down pretty significantly over the past 3 years or so off those $58 highs. But one of the challenges, again, from this business in particular is that the profitability profile is still a little bit rich relative to the multiple. They are expected to earn 61 cents on a forward basis. Now, if you average that out, it's about 15 cents per quarter. That's, again, altogether lower than the most recent quarter. So the growth rate just isn't there for PagerDuty, but it's trading around 45 times forward earnings, which places it a little bit more rich from that standpoint.
As I look at the chart here, I'm noticing, for one, they did come off significantly, still lower on the day here as we head into the end of the weekend, but they're also rallying off the extreme lows that we saw. Let's just take a quick look at the 1-minute time frame. You can see so limited in terms of follow through. George, just quickly a thought in terms of what's a best case scenario as we head into the end of month or into the month of September and into the end of the year for investors, the shares of BT and the company in general in terms of PagerDuty?
Well, I think from the standpoint of PagerDuty, and I look at trend reversals when it comes down to moving averages, Ben. I use 20 and 10-week moving averages. The stock itself is still trending below both of those. You need to see at least a 10-week to 20-week moving average cross. I don't see that necessarily happening here for PagerDuty because not all is bad. They have about $500 million in cash on their balance sheet relative to about $2.5 billion in equity. They just can't seem to get to that threshold of profitability fast enough from on a GAAP basis because their gross margins are very high at around 83%, but their net income margin is about negative 27% with operating margins negative 24%. So as time goes by, they haven't demonstrated operational efficiencies, and I think that's one of the reasons why institutions have punished it.
And I think that maybe speaks to what we're seeing in terms of the most recent price activity as well, right? Not all is bad. We're rallying off the lows here, but profitability concerns maybe what's weighing on this stock longer term here as we have seen a series of lower highs. George Tsilis, appreciate you joining us here today to take a look at a stock, again, that's not necessarily on everyone's radar, but keep an eye on PD shares of PagerDuty into the month of September.